Good afternoon. You are watching This Is Now. First at noon, if you shop on Amazon, you can expect some faster deliveries. That's because the company opened its new Sand Island delivery station today.
Officials say the $200 million facility will help move over 300,000 packages a week and provide 500 new jobs. Here's some of what was said at a press conference this morning.
Over 70% of our leadership team, so again, some of the leaders in this row and then all of the leaders that you see surrounding this space are either Native Hawaiian, Polynesian, from the islands and coming back home. That's incredible. There's so much opportunity, and that's something that we want to make sure everyone knows is join us. There's opportunity in so many different capacities, and so if you're interested, if your family's interested, your kids, your ohana, that's what we want to know about and we want to be a part of.
In the upper stratosphere of brands, the upper stratosphere, global brands, Amazon, if not the leader, is up there, and it's permeated everybody's consciousness. And that's an incredible achievement in and of itself. It says a lot about the people who've been behind this organization and all that they've done to create it. Now to have it come here to Oahu, what that means for us, even as the entrepreneurs, I think Amazon is going to help spawn so many of our entrepreneurs that are already here in the audience today, but on even a going forward basis.
Now, the company says this new hub is supporting over 1,500 local businesses. Mahilani Richardson will give us a tour coming up on later editions of HNN. Now turning to the campaign for the White House. Today, former President Trump's interview at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention turned hostile, immediately spiraling into a series of clashes. Alice Barr shows us.
Former President Trump in a conversation turned combative today at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago, on defense over a question about his past comments that some consider racially charged.
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit.
Asked whether he agrees with Republican lawmakers who've cast Vice President Kamala Harris as a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion candidate.
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some.
Also questioning the vice president's racial identity.
She was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Vice President Harris not attending the conference, but talks are underway for a Q&A in September, the same month as the next scheduled presidential debate, though Mr. Trump has cast doubt over whether he'll participate. The vice president challenging him to meet her on the debate stage.
Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say it to my face.
That before a fired-up crowd of thousands in Atlanta last night. Georgia, one of the critical battleground states where a new poll has the vice president gaining ground against former President Trump, who is stepping up his attacks, arguing foreign adversaries will view her as weak.
I think they'll walk all over her. She'll be so easy for them. She'll be like a play toy.
Also targeting the vice president's record on the border, as she and allies, including potential running mate pick Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, slam Mr. Trump for tanking a bipartisan border bill.
Because he wanted to have this as an election issue.
Vice President Harris expected to announce her running mate within a week.
Former President Trump in Pennsylvania tonight for his first rally in that state since the attempt on his life. Vice President Harris will be in Houston tomorrow, delivering a eulogy at the service for longtime Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Sticking with national news, President Joe Biden is calling for seismic changes to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's a long-shot move that makes him the first sitting president in generations to back those kind of changes. Washington correspondent Julia Brenbook has more reaction to his proposals.
President Joe Biden is calling for major Supreme Court reforms, one of his first big moves since dropping out of the presidential race.
I have great respect for our institutions and the separation of powers laid out in our Constitution. But what's happening now is not consistent with that doctrine of separation of powers.
He's pushing for a constitutional amendment stripping the president of immunity for crimes committed while in office, 18-year term limits for Supreme Court justices, and a binding code of conduct for the High Court. The proposals, which stand little chance of going anywhere with a divided Congress, received swift criticism from Republicans on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Mike Johnson calling them dead on arrival.
How are you going to get this going? How are you going to get this done?
Everything I've ever passed.
The proposed changes designed to excite the Democrats' progressive base come as polling indicates support for the court is hovering near historic lows, with the majority of Americans saying they disapprove of the job the court is doing. Former President Donald Trump is calling this move a, quote, typical Biden con. On the campaign trail, Democrats frequently point to the decisions made by the Supreme Court's conservative majority, solidified by Trump, to underscore what they see as the high stakes of the 2024 election.
Vice President Kamala Harris endorsed the proposed changes in a statement released by her campaign, saying that they would restore confidence in the court and strengthen our democracy. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Tensions in the Middle East remain high after a top Hamas leader was killed in an airstrike in Tehran early Wednesday. As CBS News correspondent Michael George reports from New York City, the assassination puts any potential agreement to a ceasefire in jeopardy.
Palestinians protested in the West Bank after one of Hamas' most senior leaders was killed in a pre-dawn airstrike in Iran. No one claimed responsibility for the attack on Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, but Iran and Hamas accused Israel.
We are continuing to urge restraint to all parties to avoid an escalation into a wider regional conflict.
Haniyeh, who had just attended the inauguration of the Islamic Republic's new president, was the top Hamas negotiator in talks to end the Gaza war.
I think nothing takes away from the importance of, as I said a moment ago, getting to the ceasefire, which is manifestly in the interests of the hostages and bringing them home. It's manifestly in the interests of Palestinians who are suffering terribly every single day.
Israel vowed to kill Haniyeh and other Hamas leaders after about 1,200 people were killed and some 250 others taken hostage on October 7th.
I think it's too soon to know what any of these reported events could mean for the ceasefire deal.
The airstrike in Iran comes after Fuad Shukr, a top Hezbollah commander, was hit in an Israeli strike in Lebanon.
Israel is right to hit the leaders and masterminds of terrorism, organizations bent on the destruction of the Jewish state, anytime, anywhere.
On the streets of Tel Aviv, Israelis welcomed the news.
It's good news for Israel, for the world.
Israel says the Hezbollah commander was behind the weekend rocket attack that killed 12 young people at a soccer field in the Golan Heights. Michael George, CBS News.
Back here at home, a woman is in custody after allegedly trying to hit another woman with her car. This happened in the Royal Kunia area on Kamiki Street around 7:15 last night. That's where police say the 33-year-old suspect intentionally drove at the 34-year-old victim. That woman was able to avoid the car and was not injured. The driver was arrested at the scene. We'll keep you updated with more details as they come in. A police investigation closed a portion of California Avenue in Wahiawa Tuesday night. There was a heavy police presence between Maalo and Mango Streets as officers responded to a terroristic threatening case. Just after 9 p.m., a 30-year-old man was taken into custody for allegedly threatening two others with a dangerous instrument. There were no injuries reported. On Hawaii Island, police are seeking this man. They're asking for help in finding 32-year-old Keanu Olival, who they say is armed and dangerous. Olival is wanted on 2 outstanding arrest warrants and is suspected in 2 other cases involving a stolen firearm and a stolen vehicle. He has a notable full left arm tattoo sleeve and tattoos on his right hand and right leg. An arbitrator says city and county employees represented by the UPW should get hazard pay for working during the pandemic, but not the 25% extra they asked for. Yesterday's decision recommends 15% differential pay for essential workers who put in hours from March 2020 to March 2022. A city spokesman said they are reviewing the decision and reserve the right to appeal.
Days after a bombshell announcement of a new suspect in the 1991 Dana Ireland murder, things got heated in a Big Island courtroom yesterday. Prosecutors argued that several men who were wrongfully convicted decades ago were somehow involved. Chief investigative reporter Lynn Kawano has the story.
Based on the statements made in court, the agreement between police, prosecutors, and the Hawaii Innocence Project to work together to solve the case has been fractured.
That the only DNA present was Dana Ireland and Albert Laurel Jr.
Albert Laurel Jr. was the only male whose DNA was left at the scene of Dana Ireland's murder in 1991. The legal team representing two of the men wrongfully convicted of the crime, brothers Albert Ian and Sean Schweitzer, asked the same judge who vacated those convictions to now declare them innocent of the crime.
Ian's and Sean's convictions could no longer stand up to the weight of the overwhelming evidence of innocence. The court believed the science and not the convicts.
But the Hawaii County Prosecutor's Office maintained that the Schweitzers and a third man, Frank Pauline, who died in prison, may have had something to do with Ireland's death, possibly hitting her with a car, then leaving her critically injured on a fishing trail.
It could still be consistent with the fact that they left Miss Ireland at the second scene or Wawa scene to die. And that's when Albert Laurel came across them.
The prosecutor's office says Laurel then raped Ireland and also left her there to die, a theory that infuriated the Hawaii Innocence Project.
33 years later, they're still grasping at straws.
The Schweitzers' legal team want to review evidence, including a video recording from the police encounter with Laurel on July 19th. Police say they spoke with him for about an hour and took a cheek swab, which later proved his semen, skin, and sweat were all over the crime scene. Laurel committed suicide days after that encounter.
The judge could order all the evidence from police to be turned over to the court for review to see if it's relevant in determining if the Schweitzers are innocent. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
With the one-year anniversary of the Maui wildfires coming next week, U.S. Senator Brian Shotz paid tribute to the victims and detailed the ongoing needs of the Lahaina community on the Senate floor.
For the survivors who lost everything in an instant, no amount of help is ever truly enough.
Shotz went on to call for continued federal support for Lahaina. He urged Congress to pass a recent supplemental funding request from President Biden that would include investments into the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Fund to help Maui.
CDBG-DR has for decades been the lifeline for disaster survivors across the country, giving them flexible, long-term assistance to rebuild their homes and their businesses and their neighborhoods. This is a proven program that has helped to revive dozens of devastated communities, and it has to be extended for the survivors on Maui as they try to recover.
Shotz also touted the progress that has been made in Maui, including nearing the end of debris removal, the restoration of water and wastewater services in Lahaina, and the swift opening of King Kamehameha III Elementary School's temporary campus. Meanwhile, hundreds of Maui residents came out to voice their concerns about a proposed new community in South Maui. It's called McKenna Mocha and would be built in the 1,000-acre area stretching from McKenna State Park to Wailea. McKenna Golf and Beach Club wants to redevelop the area and would include a golf course, range, clubhouse, and 900 new units, of which fewer than 100 would be deemed affordable. There are also concerns about water usage and traffic impacts.
Maui is already in severe water drought. How much water is being used and how much water is being sucked away?
Pi'ilani Highway is not sufficient for the current amount of traffic, and especially not for the absurd amount these proposed South Maui developments will inevitably create.
The developer says it's preparing a traffic impact analysis report. It says the public feedback will be addressed in the draft environmental impact statement, which is expected to be released in the next few years. It would then need to get approval from the Maui Planning Commission. People looking to buy a home or a new car will continue to see high interest rates at least for another couple of months. As expected, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell announced interest rates are staying put, but he signaled a cut could be on the horizon. The Fed has kept interest rates elevated for 2 years in an attempt to ease rising prices. During the time, inflation has dropped from a peak of 9.1% in June 2022 to just 3% last month. Powell says a cut could come in 2 months as long as the economy trends in the right direction. Many analysts believe the Fed could follow a September cut with at least one more cut before the end of the year. All right, we want to take you live outside now. This is Baltimore, Maryland. The temperature there, 90 degrees, and it's 6:15 in the evening. So
Yikes.
Definitely a hot summer there on the East Coast. Nothing like that here at home, here in Hawaii. You guys going to have your forecast after this quick break. Plus, we have some highlights from the Olympics.
How's it on this Wednesday? The last day of July still remains very quiet here in the Central Pacific. However, in the East Pacific, we're monitoring this developing storm. It could become a tropical depression later today, and if it becomes a tropical storm, it'll be named Carlotta. At this point, it's over 3,100 miles out from us, so it does not pose any immediate impacts for us. Here at home, we're seeing fewer showers. A drier weather pattern is taking over. We still have some high clouds out there, but these high clouds, of course, don't bring in any rain. And those winds will run at breezy levels today, but they'll begin backing off tonight. So enjoy those trade winds because they'll be lighter by tomorrow, and they'll run pretty slow for a couple of days, and that means it's going to be a little bit sticky tomorrow and again on Friday. Now, as far as the weather today, a few more high clouds this morning, but still not much rain out there, maybe a minor stray shower or two. Trade winds picking up by lunchtime, and they're easing up by tonight. And as far as surf, it's going to remain small, a little pulse here and there. We still got box jellyfish swimming into South Shores today, and we've got a nice little swell coming in today and tomorrow for South Shores as well. Now, for the next 7 days, the weather's going to be changing in subtle ways. Overall, we're not expecting a lot of rain through the weekend. We've got lighter winds starting tonight through tomorrow and Friday, so it's going to be a little bit more humid. Rainfall will remain minimal through the weekend, and starting over the weekend, we'll see those breezy trade-ins pick up speed again.
Joining us on today's Olympics digital shortcast is our sports reporter, Kyle Chinen. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. What is the latest out of Paris?
Yeah, it's an exciting time. It's the first full week of competition over in Paris, and we're going to start things off in the pool, Dylan. So Katie Ledecky just won another gold medal. She just won the 1,500-meter free final, which is her 8th medal, which makes her the most decorated U.S. women's swimmer, and it also ties her for the most decorated U.S. women's athlete ever. So big accomplishments, as she still has a couple more events to go here in Paris for her to surpass that overall record. So it's going to be super exciting to see how history kind of shapes out in Paris for Katie Ledecky, one of the all time when it comes to swimming.
Yeah, and the athleticism is on full display there. And we also have an update on surfing.
Yes, so it was the surfing competition in Tahiti was postponed the last couple of days just due to the weather, and they were going to go today but was just called off. Not too ideal conditions, so they will try again tomorrow. They have a couple days built into the schedule for these weather delays or anything that wouldn't allow them to get into the water. So we're going to have to wait and see till tomorrow to see if Carissa Moore, she's in round 3 right now. She's she won her first heat, went straight to round 3, and she's ready to defend that gold medal. Also in the mix, a couple other Hawaii-born athletes in Tatiana Weston-Webb and Luana Silva, who both surf for Team Brazil. And then you have Brissa Hennessy, who surfs for Team Costa Rica. So a lot of Hawaii connections in that women's heats right now in the 3rd round, and we just have to wait till the waves gives them something that they can get into.
Yeah, well, as they say for the Eddie Aikau, the bay calls the day.
Exactly.
So this is a little bit tricky when you're dealing with Mother Nature.
Absolutely.
Waiting for just the right conditions.
Absolutely.
And Kyle, I got to tell you, yesterday I tuned into a little bit of the USA volleyball matches. Oh my goodness, my arms were stinging just watching them get those digs and hit those serves. What happened on the court there?
These guys are monsters of athletes. They are the best of the best, and right now they're in the middle of pool play. They are 2-0 in pool play. They beat Argentina in their first game, and then they beat Germany in a 5-set thriller. So now they have to wait till Friday. They get Japan to continue pool play, and if they win, they advance out of pool play into the championship rounds and hopefully looking to make the podium. They got 10th in Tokyo, but the bronze medal back in the prior games to that. So they're looking to rebuild and kind of get back to that international prominence that USA Volleyball feels they should be. And there's like a handful of local connections there. You have Micah Christensen, Eric Shoji, Micah Ma'a, Taylor Averill, who's a UH grad. So it's super cool to see some of the local boys out in the Olympics, and we can support them here back at home.
Definitely. Hawaii is there in Paris as well. It's so amazing to see. Kyle Chinen with our Olympic Shortcast. Thank you so much. And while we're here, we also want to give you a quick update on the medal count. United States has 30 medals overall, 5 of them being gold, 13 of them are silver, and 12 are bronze at last check. So be sure to stick with Hawaii News Now. We are your Olympic station.
Today is your chance to meet with some of Hawaii's top employers. Some are even hiring on the spot at the Career Expo. Casey Lund takes us to the Neil Blaisdell Center.
Aloha and good afternoon. Just have a couple hours to make it down here to the Blaisdell Exhibition Hall for the Hawaii Career Expo 2024. A lot of different folks hiring, some of them offering jobs, at least interviews, right on the spot. We're also talking with some of the city departments, including Honolulu's Police Department. I have Officer Brandon Cruz and Officer Shalene Ozaki with us to talk a little bit about some exciting news that came out recently, a little while ago, earlier this year. Pretty great hiring incentive for HPD, correct?
Yes, for sure. So we have this $25,000 hiring incentive. It is broken down in increments. So the first one is $2,500, which comes at about 3 months. Then you have the $5,000 that comes at about 6 months. And then you have the $7,500 that comes after the first year. Then the $10,000 comes after 3 years. So altogether about 4 years.
Speaking of timelines, we're going to talk with Officer Cruz a little bit about some of the civilian opportunities that are in the department. But if somebody wants to take on that task of serving their community as a Honolulu police officer, what does that timeline look like and the process?
Yeah, so basically for us, we try to put it as simple as possible. They go to our website, they apply, that's where it starts everything. Hiring process takes about 6 to 8 months sometimes. After that, once you get into the academy, it's 6.5-month academy. After that, then you have the field training evaluation program. And then after that, then you have fourth watch. So all of that put together is about 1 year after the hiring process.
So certainly a commitment and certainly something to think about, but I'm sure a rewarding job. Officer Ozaki, thank you so much. I'm going to talk with Officer Brandon Cruz with us today, just a little bit about some of the civilian opportunities. Say you're maybe not interested in becoming an officer. There's still some great jobs within the